Warning: the following audio may contain coarse language and other materials that may not be suitable for a younger audience. The opinions expressed in this audio are solely those of the speakers involved. These conversations may contain spoilers for current media such as games, comics, movies, television shows, and more. Grown A Geeks makes no claim to ownership of the various media discussed, simply the opinions expressed. Listener discretion is advised.
All righty, we're gonna get right into this thing today, man. We're not gonna
no music, no lowrider music.
we get into it. We get into it. When we get ready to get back into our weigh-in Wednesday, we'll save that for weigh-in Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? When we do our regular weigh-in Wednesday show, we'll do that. But whenever we get on here and we doing these kind of discussions, this is gonna be for the people, for the fans to join us, to say what they want to say. We'll do our big show. I like doing my big show, so I'm gonna keep doing my big show. But stuff like this is the kind of thing where we need to get out here and we need to talk about this because this is crazy. A lot of opinions seem to be flying around. So this is all spanning from the controversy surrounding.
Introduce yourself.
I am Elder Geek Sam, lead admin and creator of Grown A Geeks. Joining me is one of my very good moderators right here. This is Jeffrey, JPNT17. Hella talented artist. Make sure you go to the website, order you some stuff. I got a fly-ass custom shirt. I don't think anybody else has it. I haven't seen nobody else with it, so I like to call it exclusive. But you need to change that. You need to go ahead and jump in there and get you one. We are in a group called Grown A Geeks. You can click that QR code there, right there in the corner. That'll take you to everywhere you can find us, and you can join us. You can be a part of this discussion. I've been reading all the news and everything that came out today, and everything I've been seeing has been talking about Jonathan Majors. And as I'm looking, the news surrounding Jonathan Majors and the conviction and everything that's come down, it's like, there it is. Disney came out and they have parted ways. They have cut ties. They have separated themselves from Jonathan Majors. He will no longer be Kang the Conqueror moving forward in the MCU. Got some feelings about that.
There's a lot of feelings going around the internet about it.
And I believe it. And, I've actually seen one of the little memes already where it was like, was it Ezra Miller? Why everybody's looking at Jonathan Majors, and it's showing Homelander when after he done murked somebody right there in the crowd and everybody applauded. He was not expecting that, and that's how it turned out. So, I think everything that happened with Ezra Miller, it's completely different, in my opinion. I think those are completely different situations, and therefore I don't think one person should get a pass and the other person shouldn't. But I think okay. So what has happened because Disney has decided to let Jonathan Majors go, and he's no longer going to be Kang the Conqueror. Of course, that raises some questions. They have decided they're moving forward with Kang Dynasty. It just won't be with Jonathan Majors. So first thing that comes to mind, first thing that came to my mind is like, well, what are they going to do as far as casting? That means we have to recast. We now have to have a new Kang the Conqueror. Who's that going to be? So I presented that question to the group. Again, you can join us and chime in and give us your thoughts and opinions. But I said, okay, so if we're going to recast Jonathan Majors' role as Kang the Conqueror, who would we pick? Who's going to be our next Kang? I actually don't hate the idea of recasting Kang.
Okay, so I feel like here's the thing. I think that there's a lot going on with the story, so maybe we need a little outline of what we gonna talk about at each moment. Because what I don't want to happen is us to be going back and forth between the different points. Because then I feel like it's gonna get murky.
I got you.
We can just have ourselves a nice little smooth combo. It's like we can talk about one, how we feel about everything that transpired like in real life in terms
Right.
of the case, his firing, etc.
Okay.
Then we can move into the like recasting aspect of it and what we think that might mean to like Marvel like as a whole, and like what we would do and how we would handle it and stuff like that. Because I feel like they're all connected, but I feel like to me that's the two like separate points of the conversation that I'm seeing everybody having. So I just want to make sure we get our clear ideas out about both of those things without having to jump back and forth. You know
I'm with you. So we've got three main topics we're going to discuss here: the case and overall feelings. The case itself, we can address like the allegations, the convictions, the overall feelings of how that part played out, as that is the biggest factor in all of it. Then we can move on to addressing recasting. And I think the third one might be other options.
Yes.
And so if we pick those three things, I think that will give us a very clear outline for the show. Good with that?
I'm with it.
All right. So you want to jump right into the overall feeling. Then we'll discuss the case. And that kind of goes hand in hand. I think it's a weak charge. Matter of fact, let me pull up the actual information. I'll have that pulled up. But I think for him to be fired under the specific charges that did stick, I think there were like 4 different allegations. There were 4 things he was being charged with. He ended up being charged with 2 or convicted on 2.
Yes. And the ones he were convicted of do seem to be the lesser versions of those charges. Just in the name of being fair, and we not journalists, we not reporters, so we not trying to but I also understand liability and slander, and so
right.
He didn't get hit with the full book. He got hit with the pamphlet.
Yeah, he got hit with some pages. Definitely had some pages. Got a couple paper cuts here. This is as reported by, and it was the first one I was able to find. It looks like it has the details here. This is reported by Rolling Stone. Credit where it's due, I suppose. Says Jonathan Majors was convicted of assaulting his ex-girlfriend on Monday, with the jury finding him guilty of harassment in the 2nd degree and a misdemeanor assault in the 3rd degree. He was found not guilty on 2 other counts of aggravated harassment and assault with the intention of causing physical injury following a 3-day jury deliberation in the domestic violence trial. He faces up to a year in jail and has a tentative sentencing date that's been scheduled for February 2024. I don't know. As we've seen, every time I've turned on the news and watched anything regarding what has been happening, it kind of looked and felt as though everything was kind of playing in his favor. The recordings that came out, some of the video that was shown. I think the last thing I saw was the video clip where he was like running down the street, obviously trying not to be where he was. And ultimately, it's saying Majors was found guilty of a charge of assault by recklessly causing physical injury and harassment violation after Grace Jabari sustained a fractured finger and a cut to the back of her ear stemming from a fight in the car.
And I'll just add, what I read also was that the injuries happened when he was basically trying to put her in the car so that he could go
back in the car so he could leave.
I don't know how 100% accurate that is, but that is what I read was the root of the injuries, which is why I'm thinking the jury probably did go with the lesser of the charges. Like, he wasn't trying to, I guess they surmised he was not trying to actually physically assault her, but she did
she still got
sustained physical damage based on a quote unquote physical altercation by definition of the word, but not necessarily like something stemming from abuse. Right. He wasn't just like punching her up. It was like, and I think that moving forward, we are going to see a lot of very complex issues like this. I know a lot of people, myself included, have been involved in situations where, as a man, I have had hands put on me by women, and it is a very tenuous circumstance because obviously I have been taught my whole life not to lay your hands on a woman. I believe that with my whole heart. Like, as a man, I should be able to get out of most situations, and any situation where a woman does not have a weapon, I should be able to get out of that situation without physically assaulting the woman, no matter what the situation is. And no matter what, I'm always going to hold firm to that belief. I was able to get out of every situation that I have been in that turned physical without resorting to asserting myself physically. Sam has seen me. I'm a large man. I'm 6'1", 300 pounds. If I decided to go crazy on a girl, it would not be good. And I recognize that. I also recognize I'm a black man in America, and it would be that much worse for me if they actually had something to put on me. So I understand in some ways the sensitivities of the issue, but I think a lot of what I have, the things that were unsettling to me were the ways in which it appeared Majors was trying to like rectify situations himself instead of just letting it go after the altercation. Like some of the text messages, even just and even little stuff rubbed me the wrong way about like you asking this white woman to be your Michelle Obama, your Coretta Scott King. Come on, brother. Brother with the hard ER. We need to understand like we can't just be throwing those types of things out there. Once you have an altercation like this with a woman, in my opinion, it's best to just cut ties, because just like with men, if they say if it happens once, it'll happen again. It's the same thing in reverse. People are people. And so if you're with somebody who has a proclivity to handle situations through violence, even if you don't walk away from that situation physically beat up, you have to understand that like you are now in a situation where if things do not go this person's way, this is the possibility. If you with a woman and she chasing you down the street, you got to understand that from now on, chasing you down the street is now a possibility.
It's always an option.
And so I feel like he was not smart in how he handled it, which made me feel like regardless of like how many things came out in his favor, it still just felt like he was trying to cover something up. And that just is not ever going to be a good look. I think the way that information was coming out from his side when the trial was going on, and some of the text messages that were released to the public, where that stuff should have been coming out in court first and foremost, I just felt like the whole way that it was handled screamed, you're hiding something. And you know, when somebody walks away from this, if you are in a situation with a woman that becomes physical, even if she started it, if she walks away with a cut and a broken bone, you're on the hook, my boy.
Yeah.
And so how you handle things from that point on really is the important part. You could have just been like, look, things got out of hand. I messed up. She went crazy on me because she found out I was messing with another woman, whatever it was, whatever people are speculating that happened that made her go would do whatever to incite the incident. The issue is you walked away fine and she had to go to the hospital and get stuff fixed. And so from that point on, brother, in America, as a black man, having done that to a white woman, you're not about to just walk away from that. OJ was the last. It's never happening again, doc. It's never happening again.
Yeah.
You not even a broken finger. They're gonna take it all away from you. And
just that quick.
I just feel like I don't know, like, and I mean, we from the South. He done played all these roles about Southern people, and he looked like he was made in a civil rights lab, and somehow he don't understand. And then all these other stories are coming out about it. All these other stories coming out from other people who ready to step up. Oh yeah, he was this and he was that. He was very aggressive. Like people who knew him before, they trying to get they check. That's not helping you either. So it's
I feel like that's always the case, though. You know what I'm saying?
It
like,
is.
Unfortunately,
so you got to be smarter than
happens. And the funny part is, it is the small recognition of that, and it's not to justify the text messages and the conversations and the way he tried to smooth it over. I'm definitely with you there. It looks like there's more to it than maybe we saw. That it presents itself to say this is what happened, and the video footage shows him running off, and he explains he was just trying to put her back in the vehicle. She got injured from that. Okay. But it's almost like he knew that the rest of this was coming. And to try to avoid all of this, let me do what I can to smooth this over, make it right. Woo, woo, woo. And just short of like, please, please, baby, baby, please. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely giving those same kind of vibes, though. It's moving in that direction.
It reminds me of the scene from Jungle Fever when Wesley Snipes and I forget the white lady name in the movie.
Annabelle.
They're like play fighting with each other, and the police pull up and they think he's really assaulting her. Yeah. So it's like you're even in a situation now where it's like, just by nature of your race and her race, even if she going crazy on you for real, you gonna call the police. They're gonna show up and do what? They're gonna show up and be on whose side? So now you saying, "Oh, I was just trying to put her back in the car." Okay, but she didn't want to be in the car, so it's not your job to put anybody where they not trying to be. Like, unless she's trying to like break into your home, then okay, you get in the car and have the car drive off and leave her on the side of the road. That's how you handle that situation. You handle yourself.
If you were gonna run off, that should have been all you did was run off. At no point, and ultimately it just comes down, like you said, at no point, you get to that position and you have to be mindful that like you cannot touch.
Like you cannot. Like, okay, yes, on one level, yes, man, woman, that is bad. Black woman, black man in America adds another layer to it. And it's like, you was walking, you was riding high, and everybody in Hollywood loved you, and you was going to all these meetings, and all these white people loved you, all these white people telling you how good you are. And that can be intoxicating as a black man in America too. You spend so much of your life being hated by a certain group and being looked down upon, having a certain group be afraid of you. And then you reach this point where you've given something to the world through your art that changes the way that they see you, changes the way they feel about you. When you walk into a room, you can forget. You can always go back. They can just like they brought you into this room, they can send you back. And
they can quickly close the door.
On one level, I haven't really heard a ton of people like. I think a lot of people haven't talked that heavily about the racial element because it's like we all know, but it is one of those things where it's like it's a factor, dog, and you got to play your role. We really want to.
Honestly, I think the reason race hasn't really come up in this situation specifically is because we really want to believe that we've evolved as humans, despite the everyday scenario telling us it's not. Everybody I've spoken with. Let me preface that. Everyone I've spoken with has objectively looked at this from a man-woman perspective. Given the charges that he was actually convicted on versus what he could have been convicted for, it's one of those things where.
But that's because we have video of her chasing you down the street. You know
right. I mean, it is proof.
We have witnesses saying she went crazy in the car on him. So
because it's proof. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mistaking that. There's proof, and that's the only reason it went the way that it did. But, and I want to quote what Brittany Henderson, the attorney for Grace Jabari, this is what she said, and this is what I'm looking at, and I think it's a very unique choice of words that I don't really care for, but this is that perception you were talking about. Justice has been served by today's verdict. Today has shown us that no abuser, no matter how powerful they may seem, is above the law. And it's that moment. It's that right. Okay. It's that moment. It's that mentality right there that says, like, if that's the case,
you forgot who you were. You forgot your place.
Where's the countersuit? If she's the one that erupted and blew up on him, where's the countersuit that shows her convicted of similar charges? Where's that part? But it's a lot easier to paint him as the animal, him as the aggressor, him as the abuser, because he said some things that weren't nice to her, because he had conversations. And at the end of the day, I think that's where that underlying unspoken aspect of the racial connection, him and Jabari Grace, Jonathan Majors and Jabari Grace, I think that's where that kind of bleeds through in statements like that.
Yeah.
Because all the other accounts that we've had up to this point indicate that Jabari Grace is as much an abuser if this is, if we're taking what's been presented, then it sounds like she's as much an abuser. And so if two toxic people are being toxic to each other, you can't pick one out and say you're the abuser.
Yeah, but you can pick one out and say you broke her finger and you caused her to get a cut. And
there you go.
You left also unscathed. So and I feel like it's one of those things where it's like whenever people see court cases and people settle, and people are like, why would they settle? This is why. Because you don't have, like, he really went into it like, probably thinking, yeah, she went crazy on me first. I was defending myself. I was trying to rectify the situation. I was trying to get her out of there, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the day, what they saw was a white woman, walking away from an altercation with a man, a black man, not intact. And so there has to be some sort of retribution for that. And that is the case. That is always the case. And I personally, I don't necessarily have a problem with that because, she walked away hurt. And there was a different way for him to be able to handle that situation. Also, though, I'm looking at it like, got to look at think about the situations you put yourself in from the beginning. Think about all the factors. Stop being delusional and thinking that they love you when they don't. And I think just across the board of him maintaining his innocence when the reality is she walked away not intact. That is what I think ultimately led to the departure from Mark. Like, I think honestly, if he had been able to go in and say, look, me and her was whoop-de-whoop. She looked at my phone and she saw something she didn't like. She went crazy on me. This is not the first domestic dispute that has ever started in that manner, right? Nobody would be shocked if that happened. But I think that, in my opinion, the way that it was always framed was just like, yeah, out of nowhere, she just like went crazy on me. I don't know why, yada, yada. And like, it has felt constantly like him absolving himself of any wrongdoing and any responsibility to try to walk away from the situation completely, like, not responsible, that ultimately led to, okay, well then this has to go to court and this has to get dragged all the way out, and everybody got to find out everything that's going on. And at the end of the day, we are going to find out how this finger got broken.
Right.
Now, if she broke her finger because she was hitting you and going crazy in the car, cool. But now it comes out her finger got broken because you were trying to put her back into a vehicle that she did not want to be in. Okay, then guilty. You are guilty of that. And that's the last thing Marvel needs is bad press. And I think that a lot of people think some people are frustrated that he was let go, and they can point to all these other people who were not let go, the Ezra Millers, them hiring Robert Downey Jr., which I don't think is a comparable case to begin with for a lot of reasons. But at the end of the day, man, you're talking about Marvel was trying to build this entire slate on the back of you being the linchpin, the centerpiece of it.
Yeah.
And so now you're talking about every single movie that's about to come out for the next 3-4 years. Marvel's going to have to deal with this case being dragged back up. Like, that's bad for business. Like, and Marvel, honestly, with the way that they have approached the Marvels, with the way they approached all the women characters, including queer characters in the Eternals, including, POC characters in most of their slates across the board, Marvel has already stood up to all the bigots and like them people who was going to be marching for Jonathan Majors don't care about Marvel anymore anyway, because they've already done so many things to piss them off. I know who Marvel cares about. Marvel cares about the future. They care about Gen Z. They care about millennials. They care about women. They care about people of color, because they see those as growth markets, and they're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize their standing within those growing markets. They understand that in many ways, those markets are the future. The old white guys who grew up buying comic books and were the backbone of maybe the trade paperback industry, that's cool. But those dudes are pretty much loyal to the comics, and all they do is complain about the movies. Meanwhile, these movies, for the most part, still bring in a whole bunch of money. Even though the Marvels didn't cross $1 billion, it's still the highest grossing movie ever for a Black female director.
Yeah.
So that's a success. It's not Avengers, but who cares? It's not supposed to be. It's a character that nobody really cares about because we just waiting on her Rogue to steal her powers, and another Black woman who we already know how people feel about Black women, and a brown girl, we know how people feel about brown girls. But you know what? You know what Marvel's doing? They're getting the future. There was a lot of Miss Marvel costumes this year. There's gonna be a lot of Photon or whatever she called. I don't know what she called herself. There's gonna be a lot of those costumes coming up in the future.
It'll be a lot of, ultimately it'll be Photon, but I think in the movie she's just Dr. Rambo. They were workshopping names, and I have to say, like I saw the Marvels. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was quite cute. I went and enjoyed it by myself. And,
Marvel understands what the future is.
Yeah,
and that future cannot be centered around somebody who has a conviction of domestic violence.
Yeah, and it definitely won't send the message that Marvel. And I don't want to say this like. I think they've done their due diligence and they've been fairly consistent. I'll give them that. Like you said, they are protecting their brand, they're protecting their reputation, and they're 100% on board with progressively moving forward. And anything
they waited till he got convicted to fire him. If anything, that's progress. Because 10 years ago, he would have been out of here with
the arrest.
That would have been enough.
Just on the arrest.
Kang who?
We might not. You know what? They probably would. If you know what, and I'm gonna just say this because it's true. Had this been another studio, I think that Quantumania might have been scrapped. And because it was actually during the
Loki 2 reshoots,
right? Immediately, and on that note. As we talk about reshoots, I really hate that Jonathan Majors ultimately kind of has, fumbling the bag with Marvel. Like you said, everything being built up to be presented around him. And it's like, man, that sucks. But at the same time, tis what it is. You know, but if Hawkeye goes missing,
Hawkeye's already been recast.
You know what I'm saying? Like we already got a Hawkeye for the
we
young Avengers.
Moved on,
and that's before the injuries or anything like that. So I mean, they was already like, you know, and I mean, come on, how big a role? Wasn't no movies being shaped around Hawkeye,
right? And I'll just say the difference between this is you talking allegations versus a conviction. Allegations are very, very important and they're not to be taken lightly, in my opinion. But in terms of legal recourse, firing somebody over an allegation is much, much more difficult than firing somebody over a conviction. Like most jobs have it in the employee handbook. Like, yo, if you get arrested for something, you could potentially be fired depending on what you get arrested for, and if this becomes a bad look for the company. Building your slate around somebody who convicted for domestic violence is a bad look, period, point blank. Yeah. Versus the 6th or 7th dude down, and I'm not saying this to like absolve Jeremy Renner of what he may or may not have done in his marriage. If he did the things that his ex-wife or whatever is accusing him of, he's a trash, garbage human being. He shouldn't be Hawkeye. But until like unfortunately, it is about the legal recourse of it, and it is about the business element of it. And the business element of it says no conviction, no firing, unless it's just like super, super terrible. At least at Marvel. I can't speak for DC because they was hell bent on putting that movie out with Ezra. So
there was obviously, like I've said, and I will maintain, there was obviously something contractual that prevented them from being able to pull, restrict, or stop that from happening. And I believe it had less to do with Ezra and more to do with the other people who were brought in on the film. Michael Keaton is, I mean, say what you want to say about it, but like that was a payday. And my man just came back after the movie Birdman. So he's, you know, riding kind of high right now in Hollywood again. You get him to come back and put on the suit again. You know, people are going to come just for that alone. And I'm sure he has something written in his contract where he was getting a check regardless. So they're like, well, we might as well try to make as much as we can.
Facts.
And then when you know, like everything they had to pay out. Now, I will say, I think, and I don't want to get into the side tangent of the Flash, but I will say that I think there was also some payouts that would have been required for some of the other things they did. The George Clooney cameo and things like that, some of the other names and the footage and that kind of stuff that got shot, they needed to recover as much as they could, and scrapping it was not going to recover any of that. So they got what they could got what they could get, and they did what they could.
Yeah. And they haven't canceled any projects that he has already filmed. Everything that he filmed came out. He got his checks.
Right.
He's going to get his residuals because that's all contractual as well. It's just like they're not moving forward with him. That's about as much as you can expect getting convicted of something like this working for Marvel, in my opinion. So, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. And people ain't gonna like that. I know people don't agree. I hold my tongue when people be talking about how great Jonathan Majors is, but I don't like him as an actor. I don't vibe with what he does. He feels like he's acting. He feels like he's trying to do something. He comes across to me as I'm an actor and I'm this and I'm on set and I'm just like, bro, you weird. And I haven't personally liked anything that I've seen him in, but I recognize that I am in the minority on that one. And you know what? I recognize that people like his civil rights sexiness and cool.
No. So here's
I'm not fucking. I don't like any of the versions of Kang that I saw so far. So I'm glad we moving on. I don't like Slavery Kane. I don't like Con Man Kane. I don't like deep into whatever verse we was in, Quantumania Kang. I didn't like none of those. I ain't like the Kangs we saw celebrating when it was a million of them. I didn't like nothing that I saw from him so far in the Marvel universe, personally.
Okay. Hey, so that is one man's shocking revelation of an opinion. I'm not even gonna call that a hot take because you was very clear on what that is. That's not even a hot take. That is just clearly
I'm not
how
saying
you
he sucked. I just didn't like it.
And that's cool. Now I will say what I saw so far, and here's where I'm okay with the recasting. Loki, the TV show, did a very good job of clarifying and explaining what a variant is.
Yes.
Because we have such a very clear definition of what a variant is, it is acceptable that not every single version of Kang has to look like Jonathan Majors. So we don't necessarily need Jonathan Majors playing the same role 12, 13, 15 times. We don't need a CGI Jonathan Majors being doubled throughout the entire crowd. Yes. Simply because Loki showed us that you could be Loki, you could be Sylvie, you could be the older version of Loki, you could be a damn alligator. All of those are still Loki. All of
we
those
also saw it in we also saw it in
Multiverse of
WandaVision.
There you go.
That was the first time we saw it, which I called, by the way, when we did our WandaVision.
You did going all the way back, going all the way back.
So yeah, we've already established that the multiverse is a place where
you could
look unless you are a Nexus being, which we have not established that Kang is at any point.
And technically, even in the comics, every version of Kang, there are different versions of Kang there. So he's not a Nexus being. I'm absolutely okay with the idea of recasting Kang if they want to continue moving forward with Kang Dynasty and that whole storyline, trying to get into Secret Wars and that kind of thing. And since it all kind of involves incursions and things like that, that kind of ties into the way they're shaping and showing the multiverse is collapsing in on itself. So having somebody who travels the multiverse, having the incursions, having Secret Wars, it all kind of fits and it makes sense to continue on the Kang story. Yeah. I have no issue with that. As for my personal opinion of what I've seen from Jonathan Majors, I did like him in Creed because I felt like that was a natural role.
I liked him in Creed.
I felt like he played that character correctly. Yeah. When I saw, what was the Lovecraft Country?
Yeah, I haven't watched that. You know, I don't do scary.
He felt a little out of place in that, and I kind of get what you're saying as far as like he feels like an actor he feels like he's acting.
You know what he feels like? You know what he feels like to me? He feels like a stage actor in a movie sometimes, where it's like when you act on stage, which, you know, I'm no full thespian, but I've done a few things in my college years.
Gotcha.
They teach you act to the back row, right? Because it's not like a movie theater where the sound is pumping in from all directions. It's me on stage. Maybe I got a microphone, but I'm projecting and I'm giving facial expressions and I'm demonstrative to the point where the people in the back need to be able to see what's going on just as well as the people in the front.
Right.
And when you do that in a movie, like Jamie Foxx talked about this as well when he was talking about interviewing for, not interviewing, he was auditioning for, I want to say Any Given Sunday. And the first time he auditioned for Any Given Sunday, Oliver Stone was just like, yeah, man, you got that sitcom thing going on. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, you play into like an audience and like you think there's like people here like watching you and like you waiting for like the last and you're like here. But like when we do in the movie, we're like here. We're like tight on your face. We're, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's quiet. It's, you know what I'm saying? And you have to figure those things out. There's a difference because when you are 30 feet wide.
Yeah.
And not just the stage is 30 feet wide. Your face is 30 feet wide. Doing stage acting in that scenario is going to look crazy compared to everybody else who is acting for a movie, acting for TV. And so for me, it just never stuck. You know, the Five Bloods was the first time I saw him, and I was just like, not for me. So I really, you know, but I hope that I hope that this is not the end for him. He seems talented. I hope he can go away, figure this out, and I hope he's not like blackballed by the industry. But you know, if he is, it'll just be a cautionary tale, hopefully, for other people to be mindful of all the circumstances of your surrounding, including the ones you think maybe America has progressed past. But yeah, in terms of like recasting, like you said, Marvel's already done a great job of establishing that across universes, the multiverses that they've established, there's no requirement for every single person to look exactly the same or be played by the same exact character. So with that said, he's fired. I'm just saying we can move on. So, and the interesting thing is everybody keeps casting like black men as Kang, and it's like, who's to say? Who's to say?
This is one of those times where it's like, you know what? If you were to ever pick up a comic book,
right?
And I'm not advocating one way or the other. I can honestly say in this case, their variants cast the most capable person, whoever's going to give you the vibe or the feeling you're looking for. If Marvel had an idea of what they wanted to do because it was going to be Jonathan Major, then I feel like they should have an idea of what they want to do in general, and they can restructure that around whoever the next person is. Or they could possibly find a talented enough actor to come in and fill those shoes and fit what they were going to do. So,
yes.
I presented recasting choices to I asked our group. Again, that's Grown A Geeks. You can jump in, you can find us, click that QR code there that just popped up on the screen, and you can join us. And if you have a thought or opinion, feel free to add it and, you know, bring your own conversation, because we do a lot of chat in there. We're about to get back into the discussion side of things.
Yes,
I presented it to the group and I said, okay, if we're going to recast and we're going to stay with Kang, who should be the next Kang? Who do we get to be the next Kang? And I got some great responses, some that I agree with, some that just made me laugh, some that I think are like, okay, I guess, sure, that's interesting. And I'm gonna just read off a few here. In fact, let me see if I can. You know what? I'm not gonna pull the screen up. I'm just gonna read them off. So we had member Keith Hall. He was the first one to chime in, and he suggested we get the dude who's playing a dude as another dude. He wanted to get Robert Downey Jr. to come in and be our Kang.
Not in blackface, I hope.
Well, of course, that was the one that he used. That was the only one he could use. Couldn't use anything else.
Robert Downey Jr. is the only white man in the history of cinema to do blackface in a non-offensive way, in my opinion. And I think
he did it as
dice, brother.
He did it as such a parody that it worked, and I'm not mad. Let's not do that again.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Somebody we've got here. Let's see. Am I on all comments? Yes. Okay. Here's another one. Lakeith Stanfield.
He's weird enough.
I was about to say I like that brother, and he has that calm, quiet rage that I think would replicate what we've, air quoting here, seen already.
I don't know if I have seen him. I don't know if I have ever seen anything in me that says Conqueror, though. Definitely like slavery, con man Kang. I can see Lakeith doing that all day. Like, my inventions don't quite work, but I already got your $5 and I'm in the alleyway escaping with your money. Okay, that's so Lakeith all day.
A Victor Timely.
Yeah. Okay. But when it comes to like standing across from Earth's mightiest heroes, I don't know.
But you know what? I do, and maybe this is wrong from saying it, but I feel like Lakeith Stanfield could beat up Paul Rudd.
Yes.
So that part, you know, I'm a little upset with Quantumania and the character of Kang as a whole. We'll get into that part in a minute. Let's talk some more options here. Eric Andre. I don't know how I feel about that because I don't know how I feel about Eric Andre.
That's a joke.
I'm sure it was. Alex France is he's one of our funny guys, so it's very, very possible that was not serious. But he did.
I wouldn't mind popping into the universe and seeing a Eric Andre Kang, but like the one that's gonna be like the one, nah, I can't do it.
I never get this name right. Daniel
Kaluuya.
Because I always want to say always think of like the drink, but I know it has like an extra syllable in there.
Yeah.
Kaluuya. Got it. He's already got a character in Marvel that I like.
Yeah, I want to see his character come back.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's something for him to do. Let's see. Brandy Green has great opinions on a lot of things. She's one of my favorite, not to pick out, but like I love her reviews and opinions. She says Corey from Double Toasted brought up Michael Jai White or maybe John Boyega. We got a lot of John Boyega, and he's already addressed it. So
Disney didn't do what they needed to do for John Boyega the first time they cast him as somebody. He never coming back. Kiss it goodbye. Accept it. Because honestly, if we was gonna bring John Boyega back as anything, I would want to see him as a Black Panther variant. Anything less than that, if I'm John Boyega, I'm not coming back.
Okay. You know what? I'm not mad at that.
Or rather, I'd say a T'Challa variant.
Okay. Even so, it still fits. But he has actually stated
basically he said never again. And he was like, stop. He was basically just like, stop saying that I've gotten, because people were saying he got cast. And he was like, stop saying I've been cast for stuff. Like, I haven't.
Yeah. And it actually comes from conversation. He did an interview with Men's Health, and he wasn't interested. It's clear that he isn't interested in playing Kang or anyone else in the MCU. That's not in the vision for me now. And that's back in August of 2022, when rumors would come up that he had an upcoming Marvel role like you were talking about. He says he wants to do nuanced things. He wants to donate his services to the original indie films that come with new, fresh ideas, because he knows it's real hard to top Iron Man in that universe. He was very clear, like they've already got their
honestly,
person.
He's a great actor. And I think locking him into another franchise is just like, I don't think that's what he wants to do. And I don't think his services, his talents would be wasted.
I want to get to this one statement. The British actor portrayed Finn in the latest Star Wars trilogy, as we all know, and he's been vocal about how he felt his character was mishandled by Disney, who owns both Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios. There was an interview he did with GQ in 2020. He says, what I would say to Disney is do not bring out a Black character, market them to be much more important in the franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side. It's not good, and I'll say it straight up.
Yep, and you can go back and watch our therapy episode on Star Wars, starring Sam, myself, and our friend Ty, to find out more of our thoughts about how Disney screwed over Finn in so many ways across 3 different movies.
I want to say now, here was one that came up. I think it was meant as a joke, but I think it would also actually really, really work if they did it. Somebody said Terrence Howard. Yes. No explanation. Just make the switch and act like nothing happened. Mm-hmm. Just like they did when they did it with Rhodey.
I'm out here conquering Maine.
Hey, Maine. It's Kang, Maine. It's Kang.
Who's Rhodey, Maine? I'm Kang, Maine.
Kang the Conqueror, Maine. But even so, I still think, honestly, like, low key, that would actually be kind of fire, especially given he's been a variant, and he's the kind of person that I think could absolutely. Terrence Howard gives me enough.
He has a sinister element about
right. He has enough scary, but I also would be convinced that he's smart enough.
He's scary, but I wouldn't feel like, oh, it's crazy that people will follow him. He's scary but charismatic. He's charismatic.
Ooh. Charismatic. You heard it here first, folks. That's a new one. Charismatic. I love it. And then, of course, we got some more John Boyega. Here's one, Orlando Jones.
I can see that for sure. If you watched American Gods,
yes, that was the one.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that,
and I could absolutely see him being the person to want to take over everything. Like, yes, I'm all in. I could definitely go with Orlando Jones. It's specifically based on American Gods. But we do also ask if you have some thoughts. Throw them in the comments. Join our group. Talk to us. Let us know what you think. Finally, let's discuss.
I got some. I seen Yaya thrown out a bunch of times.
Yeah, I'm about to say we got to get yours and we got to get mine. So,
but I got one that it's gonna be a Loki spoiler. So if you haven't seen Loki season 2, you know what I'm saying, cover your ears or whatever. But there's nothing that says that Kang has to be a man. And I think that with what Loki revealed about how Kang conquered, I think that it would be cool to see Gugu and Batara,
Ravonna Renslayer as a
Kang variant. Because in Loki, they revealed that she was by his side and she was really the general of the army. He's like the think piece, but she is the conqueror who had her memories erased. So maybe she's actually Kang the Conqueror all along. If she's allowed to reach her full potential and not be, hindered by having to work underneath whoever, like a Kang or whoever he really is before he adopts the Kang moniker.
You know what? I'm gonna make that canon. I'm gonna make that canon right now. He who remains is never name dropped as being Kang. He always says one of his variants is worse. One of his variants is worse. And since, just like you pointed out, we saw her memory gets wiped probably numerous times by He Who Remains, Loki showed us that a variant could be any other person who's a version of that person. Doesn't necessarily have to be male, just a version of that person. I'm with it. Do it. Run it. Gugu, get that check.
Because I'm going to be real with you, bro. I'm going to be real with you, bro.
Right there.
She's a phenomenal actress, in my opinion. And I feel like she just has not gotten... I don't know what it is. I don't know if she's not picking the right stuff, if they're not casting her. I don't know what it is.
She hasn't been in roles that have actually given her an opportunity to flourish or utilize anything beyond the surface pretty and speaking some good lines. You know what I'm saying? She can come in and be commanding and threatening when necessary. Then she shrinks back to the shadows. It's almost like when you look at follow Kerry Washington's career, and you know what I'm saying, I kind of see the same thing. It wasn't until she got that one role where it was like, damn, Kerry, what? But no, she's always been like that. She just didn't have those roles. Then you see her come up and she does something like that, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, Kerry Washington. And you get a lot of actresses like that, you know what I'm saying? Sanaa Lathan, until she had that breakout or something, you know what I'm saying? It's like they come in, they fill a role, they're a pretty face.
It's literally like there can only be one. There's a He Who Remains, and until that one is like out of the way. So it's like Kerry Washington has done her like major thing. She's at a point now where she can pick and decide what she wants to do. So now you ain't got to worry about going to auditions and walking in and seeing Kerry Washington. Because if Marvel wants Kerry Washington for something, they're going to offer her the role. You know what I'm saying? She probably offer only at this point.
Right. She's getting a phone call direct.
For now, for like somebody like a Gugu,
and then
she's been in Doctor Who. She's been, in so many things. And it's just like, but even in Loki, like me hearing that she was like the main bad guy in like Loki season 1, but then it was like, was she? She just basically sat behind like a little podium the whole time. Like, we're not utilizing all her gifts, in my opinion. And so she's still alive. She's in the universe. She's been screwed over by Kang at the end of Loki, the Kang that we know. You know what I'm saying? And she finds out the truth about herself. The next logical step, in my opinion, is to just be like, well, if I'm the one who led this army that did all these things, how am I not Kang the Conqueror?
Yeah.
Like, you sat in the office and I was on the battlefield. Yeah. Who is the real conqueror?
I have no choice but to co-sign that. I don't even have a pick no more. I'm just co-signing with that one. Because it makes perfect sense, given that she's already got the backstory and everything is already filled in. She's already part of that universe. She's already in the Quantumania area, because we saw the TVA in Quantumania. Kang was there. The little device that he was trying to create ended up being the device that controls his power chair from everything, like, fits together in such a way that it absolutely fits to make it Gugu, and it's a quick fix for them to cast her. It is Shuri as Black Panther.
Yeah,
it is a seamless transition to do it without wronging, offending, or changing what's in place and what's already been established by the MCU canon.
Yeah, because like an earlier comment said, at this point, everybody recognizes that we waiting on a few things. We waiting on Doctor Doom. We waiting on Fantastic Four. We waiting on X-Men. So whatever y'all do while we waiting, like, that's part of the reason why people kind of was just like, all right, whatever with like the Marvels. And then they've been whatever about a lot of stuff, because ever since like we found out X-Men is coming back, that's how everybody's been waiting on. So you're going to have to do something that's just like, okay, you need to put somebody in this role that's not going to completely like upset. Like, we're not trying to meet no new people, man. I don't want to meet nobody new.
I don't want to take the time to have to do backstory and 2-3 movies of capability and feats and this, that, and the other for us to be familiar and comfortable with the capabilities of this person. Now, I will say that does make it interesting for Marvel, because now they have to, now Loki becomes required viewing, which ain't the worst thing.
Season 2 is worth it, in my opinion.
I was about to say, it's not the worst thing. So, I mean, if you get out there and you watch this content and you see it and you're a part of it, I think it's fantastic. And all it does is add to the lore that they've already established, and they're just building off what they've already done, as opposed to having to go out here and try to create something from scratch or brand new. That is, I think
what it also does is it ends up like basically treating Quantumania, a movie I'm sure Marvel would rather forget, and Quantumania, it basically treats everything that Kang has already been in essentially as like a variant in and of itself. And so it's like it becomes an Elseworlds tale, right? Like, you can go off to the side and you can go watch Quantumania and be like, okay, yeah, this is something that happened like off to the side, but do I really need to know this to know moving forward? No. What I need to know, like, honestly, you don't even need to really watch Loki season 1. Like, whoever she is as Renslayer, it doesn't matter. Put a little montage in there with her, just like we've done with every villain that we've ever introduced in the MCU. There's a montage or a soliloquy or something explaining like who she is. You're not Kang. Yes, I am. I've always been Kang. He was an inventor. He was behind me. He was doing yada, yada, yada. But I was on the battlefield conquering worlds and doing X, Y, Z. I was in the TVA snipping variants and doing all this stuff, maintaining. I was the one maintaining the sacred timeline, actually physically maintaining the sacred timeline, while he was just some writer sitting in a room by himself. So for me, that's my choice. I feel like she deserves a lot. Like, she deserves the promotion, basically.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what else was you going to do with her? Ain't finna be no Loki season 3. Y'all wasn't going to make a Renslayer show. So where is she going to show up again in the MCU?
I don't think it was spinoff. And if you let her live just to show that nothing happens, what's the point?
Exactly.
That's it, man. That wins. I don't think anybody else is just an opinion or a thought or something you throw out to Marvel. That needs to be one of them times where we write that up and we timestamp this bad boy, because if they do it, hey, we can't get nothing for it because it's already their stuff. But damn, that's a great idea. Of course, that just leaves. I think that actually kind of covers the best option. Because of course, we know we're getting Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 can introduce Fox universe into the MCU, tie everything together, his fourth wall breaking, his time skipping and everything. We can make it look real pretty in Deadpool 3. In addition to that, we can already start laying some of the groundwork for what everybody really wants to get to. The other side of Marvel. Avengers are great, but we want the X-Men. I'll even go as far as to say we want a good Fantastic Four.
Please.
And I say we want.
But the only reason we really want a good Fantastic Four is because we want a good Doctor Doom.
Right. I was about to say, and it really comes down, it's not even Fantastic Four we give a shit about. We want a good Doctor Doom. And because Doctor Doom is a big enough villain to fight everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody can fight Doctor Doom. He will go up against anybody who sets foot in Latveria and has issue. And, it's a way to do it and incorporate everybody and tie everything together. And since we have the Multiverse of Madness showing us that there's all these various multiverses, combine that somehow with the sacred timeline being broken, and now we have all these variant timelines. There's a way to incorporate the two, put everything together, and get us on track to where we really want to be. Honestly, I don't think it's Kang. I don't think Kang is the way to get us there. I don't think Kang has ever really been the way to get us there.
I mean, I think Kang was only the way because they needed okay, so basically like Thanos was the way because they needed to incorporate the cosmic element. Kang is the way because they need to incorporate the multiversal element. And he's really the only villain, in my opinion, that kind of like fits with that, where it's like he's big enough, he crosses enough of like the time, he deals with the time travel, he deals with the multiverse, he deals with all that crazy cosmic stuff. But yeah, like eventually, like you're gonna get to Doom.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be your, Planet Doom, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And he's gonna be your big bad in the next phase. But we need Kang. We just needed like something to get us there to make it make sense. To make it make sense where the X-Men have been during all these things. Wasn't no X-Men on this planet. Because there wasn't no X gene, XYZ, yada yada yada. Well, now, it's just I don't know, whatever they're doing with Miss Marvel. They figure it out.
We'll see. I think the whole idea, and obviously we got to do a future of the MCU. I feel like that's definitely a topic that we can sit and maybe not. I won't say.
Yeah, this the Kang special. We'll keep it on Kang for now.
We'll come back and we'll have to discuss that, because I definitely see that there's some ways that could go in both cases, and maybe we need to put the MCU on the couch. Maybe that's a therapy episode. Right,
bro, I'm ready.
And we will
2024. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get the MCU on the therapy couch, and I think that would be the perfect starting point right there. So yeah, we got to figure out how to move forward with the MCU. Kang, yeah, go for the recasting, and I think Gugu is absolutely the way to go. Ravonna Renslayer was Kang all along. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That was yeah. I'm with it, and it works, and it fits, and there's no reason it couldn't be. And she would probably look amazing in that ridiculous outfit. And that would be why the face has to be so distorted behind the mask, because she needs everybody to not know that it's her. Maybe she imposes the fear. I don't know. I'm just spitballing now, but it works. and I love the idea. And that is actually going to be my recasting choice moving forward. So anytime this conversation comes up, I'm like, my homeboy said such and such, and I think it's a great idea. We should do that. So that's actually going to be the response post that I put up in regards. So yeah, join us there, and I'm going to say, come find us, come join us, be a part of all the things we do. We're going to have a lot more pop-ups like this. They're going to be random. I don't know when they're going to be that way. If you're not available for weigh-in Wednesdays, which is going to be moving to every other Wednesday moving forward, you might be able to pop into one of these shows, or just, make sure to follow the YouTube, follow the Twitch, because we're just going to have new content popping up left and right. We appreciate the time that you spent with us. We want to thank everybody who was in the comments, everybody who had opinions, everybody who posted in the group to make this video.
Yeah, definitely appreciate y'all,
because y'all definitely gave us something to talk about on Topic Tuesday. So any last words you got, Jeff?
Nah, stay safe out there. Be mindful of your surroundings. Be mindful of your circumstances, and don't put
don't put people in cars that don't want to be in cars. That's the lesson for today. But hey, we want to thank you guys for being a part. We appreciate you joining us. Tune in tune in this Wednesday if you happen to see. We will be returning with Weigh-In Wednesday. This will be our year-end special, so we'll wrap up the year, talk about random topics, and we'll get into it. So join us for that. But for today, we out of here, and we'll holler at you. Peace.